See, there we go. Say recording now?
Sure does.
All right. Well, I won't make you guys listen to that again. But anyway, the reason I wanted to highlight that is because that's a song that I know without having a specific arrangement in mind. I know I can do a lot of these tips that I'm going to go over today. Now, I have Sean pop up that graphic for you if you haven't already. And this is something that you guys either have received or will receive in your email. And if you haven't gotten it yet, don't worry, because Robert sends out the email, I think, usually after the class. But what we're going to do is we're going to talk about these different things. And this is normally a workshop that I would split up into like 2 45-minute segments or 2-hour-long segments. So we're only going to get to about half of them today. And in the interest of keeping it consistent, I'm going to use the same 5 that I covered with the group yesterday so that the next time I have a session, I can go over the same things with both groups. And I will tell you that I think, let's see, 1, 2, at least 2 or 3 of them, 3 of them will be applicable to every instrument, no matter what you have. And then there's another one that will be applicable to most instruments, and then one that will only work if you have a big window. So I'll just give you a heads up, but there are 3 of them today that everybody can use. And I'm going to start with one of those. And this is one of my favorite ones. It's number 1 there on the list that you can see. And not only is it a fun thing to do, but it's a fun word to say. It's called glissando. And glissando, you might not know it by the term, but you'll know it by what it actually does. And I'm going to put my other camera angle on here for you. And if you could highlight me again, Sean. Or maybe I have to spotlight it here. There you go. So a glissando looks like this. It's fun, right? And I told the group yesterday, if you want to do it like a classical musician, they have the most flair out of any instrumentalists, and they usually do it like this. Then you got to throw your hand up in the air, big dramatic flair there. Doesn't make the song sound any better, but it certainly makes you look better. So what a glissando is going to do is it provides this kind of cool little flourish that you can do either between 2 notes or before just a single melody note. And what I mean by that is, let's say if you're doing a song like, yesterday I did No Business Like Show Business. So if you're doing like a Broadway number like that, these tend to work pretty well. And the first note, if you're playing out of the easy play music, is a G. The second note is a C. So instead of going like that, you can do a little glissando, meaning you play all of the white keys in between the 2 notes. So in this case, it's just a couple. And remember the dramatic flair if you want to make it really pop. Okay, I'm kidding about that. Don't really do that. But if you, when you're doing your glissandos, what you want to focus on is your target note. And by that, I mean you're going to start somewhere down here, and you're going to end up on 1 note. That's the note you want to focus on. Because when you're playing, you want to make sure you hit that next note. If I was playing No Business Like Show Business and I went, okay, you'd probably still know what song it is, but you want to actually play the right notes. Another thing you can do is if you want a longer glissando, instead of just going from like G to C, you can go from G, go all the way past this C, and go all the way up to the next one. Okay, so in that case, I did a longer glissando. And I think the longer ones tend to work better, but if you're starting off, you might want to just do a shorter one. Again, focusing on that last note, the next note that you're going to play. Because if you do the other thing, which is you're not going from 1 note to the next, let's say we're playing a song like, I don't know. Let's say we're doing Over the Rainbow, okay, and I'm playing I play my first note is going to be, I usually play it in F. So let's say my first note is here. If I'm playing a glissando to lead up to that first note, I could start way down here. And when you do one of those, it doesn't really matter where you start. If you want to do a shorter glissando, you can start maybe around here. If you want to do a longer one. Okay, it's up to you, right? You're the artist, so you have the creative control to make the glissando however you want it to be. A couple quick tips though on doing your glissandos is that when you're playing them, you'll find that one of your fingers will probably work the best. For some people, that's the pointer finger. Some it's the middle. Some it's maybe a combination even of the middle and the ring finger. But what you want to do is kind of just lightly drag your nail across the top of the keys. Okay, if you're pushing it down real hard, it's going to hurt. And that's not what you want. It should just be very light to the touch. I think I normally use my middle finger or pointer finger. Like that. And you can really use it whenever you want. If you are taking or have taken any of the Lowry books, the Lowry magic classes, you'll notice occasionally there will be a squiggly line that goes up. Kind of goes up like that, or it goes down. And that indicates the time to do a glissando in the music. And if you want to do that when they tell you, that's fine. But just like the fill-in or any of the other features and functions, I wouldn't wait for the book to tell you to do it. If you feel like there's a spot in the music, you just want a little extra flair, that's when you want to do that glissando. And again, that target note is what matters, right? Or if I'm playing No Business Like Show Business, right? And it really is not that hard to do. It just takes a little bit of practice of how hard you need to push down the keys, which is not very hard, okay? And landing on that target note, which is, it's maybe a little bit easier said than done, but it can be done by anybody. And if you do want to do a downward or descending glissando, meaning you're starting from somewhere on top of the keys here and you're going down the keys, I would recommend using your thumb. And the thumb can you can kind of hold it, if you can see my hand there, but if you hold it under your fingers like that, and that would be good for something like do, re, mi. But remember, I'm picking Broadway songs, so I guess I'm in a Broadway mood today, but really works for any style of music, and really any time that you want to do it is fine. It's really up to you. It's one of those things like I mentioned, using the fill-in, or using a virtuoso, or using anything else of your features and functions that you can kind of sprinkle it in as you like. So that is the glissando. Does anybody have any questions on that?
Well, that sounds easy enough.
Yeah. Looks like Carolyn has a question.
Go ahead.
I don't have a question. However, the suggestion has been made when you use your nail, especially with ladies, some may wear nail polish, and you may not really want to use your nail. You may want to use your index finger, whatever is, that you feel comfortable with.
I have heard that, and I actually, thanks for reminding me, Carolyn, because I did mention this yesterday. I learned from Joni Monero,
Yeah.
if you use 2 coats of clear.
Right.
And I'm not exactly sure what that means, but I think it means that the clear nail polish protects your nails somehow and that it won't get on the keys. And I have seen at least 1 or 2 in my day. I've seen red streaks along the keys, and that's it's not good. But yes, if you think your nail polish is going to come off on the keys, definitely find a different way to do it, or use those 2 coats of clear. All right, well, I'm going to move right along to the next one. And this is one, it's maybe my favorite one on the list. And this is number 8 on my list. This is, and remember, these aren't in any particular order. These are just things I wrote down that I think are tips that most people can do to really sound good. And when we're playing, obviously the idea, whether you're a professional or a hobbyist, is to sound the best that you can. And obviously not everybody has 40 or 50 years of musical experience playing the organ. If you did, you'd probably be a professional musician. However, you can sound really good, right, by using all these features that are built into the instruments. But this is actually not a feature. This is something that you can do on any instrument, and anybody can do this. Now, if you can see it on the screen, I listed 2 different styles that I'm going to highlight for you right now. One for an intro, which is called soliloquy, and one for an ending, which is Broadway opener. But keep in mind, you can do this to any style. And all you have to do is experiment with playing some different notes while the intro is playing or while the ending is playing. And I'm going to show you, there's a reason I picked these 2. One is because soliloquy, the intro is a little bit more free form, you might say, whereas the Broadway opener, there's one very specific spot that you want to play along with. So depending on which styles you pick and which intros and endings you play with, this is something that, like I said, anybody can do, and you can take either approach to it. So I'm going to pop back on my other camera here, and I'm going to program up here soliloquy, and I'm just going to show you what the introduction sounds like. If anybody knows this style, you might remember it's got this beautiful flute intro. Okay, so here it is. All right, isn't that beautiful? That's the soliloquy intro. And this is going to be on a number of instruments. This is, I think, first came out on maybe on the Royale or the Stardust. It's one of my favorite ballad styles. But what's really nice is, if you remember last week, I talked about rhythm preset or style setup. If you use either one of those, rhythm preset or normal style setup 0, you should get a flute automatically programmed on the lower keyboard. Okay, now that flute player was playing a lot of notes during the intro. The good thing is you don't have to play those notes. You play whatever notes you want because you're kind of improvising with the introduction. One of the easiest things that you can do is just hold one note for, 2 beats, 4 beats, however long you want. This is really up to you, and then go to a different note. If you're playing a song where the first chord is C, you can pretty safely play any of the white keys, and you'll be fine. So let me show you what this sounds like. I'll play just the intro by itself first, and then I'll play along with it. Doesn't that sound nice? And I was just picking random notes. You really don't need any music theory background. You just kind of experiment with some different notes and hold them for different lengths. And with this particular intro, I think you'll find that it sounds really good. Now, on the chance that you're playing something where it starts with an F chord or a G chord, I would say it kind of gets a little bit more complicated, and I don't want to get into any of that kind of music theory stuff, but trust your ears. If you play a note along with an intro or an ending and you think, "Oh gosh, that didn't sound good," just kind of make a mental note of that. Don't do that one next time for that chord. Okay. And the reason I think that this is fun is because if you're like me, you might end up using some of these same styles pretty frequently. I love soliloquy, even though it's not a brand new style. It's one of my go-to for a lot of the ballads that I play. And if I'm using the intro, it's like, it's such a beautiful intro, but it's like, man, I've heard it a bunch of times. So how do I spice it up a little bit? Well, I can play along with it. And have you ever gone to a concert, even for what could be a student concert or an artist concert, and you see somebody does an intro and then they do this with their hands here.
Hey, I do that.
All right, has anybody ever seen somebody do that? So instead of doing that, you can have some fun and play along with the intro. We had a question, how do you get soliloquy? The easiest way is to look it up under your style list, but under most instruments, it's going to be under the Broadway button. So if you go over to the right, to the left of your instrument and touch Broadway, it should be under there. If it's not, or if you don't have a Broadway button, check your music style list in the window, and then it should tell you where it is. Okay, but again, that's just one example. I mean, I'm showing you because I think that's a fairly easy one to start with, and it really works with any style. I mean, if I picked one, let's just pick one at random here. I'll pick a pianist style, heart songs. Okay, and that's on many instruments, including, I believe, the easy one and up. Or whatever song you're going to play. So I just picked one at random. I didn't prepare to do that or anything. But if you're playing in the key of C, which, as we know from the Easy Play Music, is many of the tunes, you can just pretty safely play any of those white keys, and you'll be good. Looks like we got a couple questions here. Sean, you want to?
Judy Bram, go ahead. It should ask you to unmute yourself on your screen there.
Can you do that with endings as well?
Oh boy.
What was the question?
Can you do that with endings as well?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm going to show you an ending example in just 1 second here. But yes, intros or endings.
Okay.
Do we have another question here? Looks like our Mobilize, or was that her?
That was her. We got Joanne. Go ahead, Joanne.
It seems to me that when you hit an intro, don't you have to hit a chord button for the intro to start?
Yes. And so I hit a C chord in this instance.
Oh, okay.
And then after you hit the C chord, that's when you can kind of noodle around or whatever you want to call it.
All right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And Carolyn?
Brian, is it better that you choose intros that are longer, like 7 measures and or less? If you pick a shorter one, you won't have time to do your improvisation. Is that correct?
I think it's correct to say that if you pick a shorter one, you won't necessarily have as much time. But even if there's one that's 3 or 4 measures, you might still add in a couple notes. Because remember, it doesn't need to be very elaborate. It's just a matter of doing something extra. You could hold one note the whole time.
Thank you.
It's a matter of doing something. But yes, certainly if you want some more time to experiment, I would pick the longer ones. There's some that have 8 measures or even more in some cases. So let me show you the other one here. We're going to get to my ending one. And this is one of my favorite ones. I used to teach this in some workshops that I did around Florida. And again, this is a style that many people have, and this is called opener. This is a Broadway style. This is great for Broadway medleys and whatever else you'd like to play. And the ending sounds like this. At the end, you'll recognize this because I bet you heard a lot of artists play this one. At the end, it goes da-da-da-da-dun. And as soon as I play it for you, you'll know what I mean. Here we go. Does that sound familiar to anybody?
Oh yeah.
So I'm going to slow it down a little bit because the opener comes on as a pretty fast style. Okay, it comes on about 140. I'm going to just slow it down to 100. It does work at any speed, but it's easier to hear. So if you use, on the Sterling here, it's ending number 2. Okay, on some instruments, if you don't have an ending 2, it might just be ending 1. But when you hear it, if you do this is my kind of secret to this one. Once the ending starts, which remember, it's not necessarily when you press it, but when it actually starts, and you'll get to know what it sounds like, you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you hit 5 notes right in a row. Now, which 5 notes do you hit? This is the easy part. I'll angle my camera down here. Whatever the last chord of your song is, let's say it's C, just for ease of doing it here. If the last chord is C, your note is C, and you just hit it 5 times.
Oh, I
If
see.
the last chord of your song is F, then you hit F 5 times. But you have to count first. You have to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then a real quick 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so let me show you what I mean. It's going to be a little bit slower. Isn't that cool? I love that. So I'll try it again here. I'll do it even a little bit slower, maybe. Okay, so here's our style playing. I'm going to hit the ending. Here we go. 2, 3, 4, 5. So I love doing that. It's such a great finish because let's say you're playing a big epic Broadway medley and you do your finish. Now this comes back to some of that classical music stuff too. You can do this big flare at the end, right? So check this out. All right, isn't that fun? So again, these are just 2 examples that I picked out because I think they're fun and maybe some of the easier ones that you can do it with. But this is something that anybody can do. It can apply to any style. And I just encourage you to experiment with it because you really don't have to have any sort of extra musical knowledge. It's not that you have to know any scales or anything like that. If you do, that might help you, but that's not something that you need. Just try it and trust your ear. Everybody knows if you hit a sour note or something, you'll know right away. And it's just fun to experiment with it. So hopefully you'll have some fun doing that. All right, my next one here. Now this is one that it only is going to apply to big window instruments or touchscreen instruments is another way to put that. We are going to come back to some other stuff for everybody in a second, but if you have a big window instrument, this is anything like a Royale, a Stardust, a Performer, a Prestige, a Legend, a Sterling, a Patriot, Liberty, Inspire, Rialto, Marquis, Grand Marquis, Aria. I mean, it's many of the instruments are considered big window touchscreens. You'll be able to do this. And this is number 7 on my list, and it's the start-stop function. So this is a little bit more elaborate. Now, if you have an instrument that's not on there, you still do have your start-stop button. Okay, so you still do have kind of a way of doing this, but I'm going to show you a way that, that you can do also with a big window. So what I'm going to do here, I'll try to zoom in my camera a little bit. Okay, just to the right of your big window is a clear button that says Feature. If you touch that and you go to page 9, you're going to see a few options, including Pedals, Natural, and Black. And it should be towards the bottom of the screen there. So I'm going to select that, And then on the natural pedals, I'm going to go to auto start stop. And I just got there by scrolling through the list. Okay, I highlighted it on the screen and scrolled through. I'm going to turn my pedal controllers on so that now my pedals can be used for this start-stop function. And I will mention this too. I actually forgot to mention this at the top of the class today, that we're covering a lot of stuff that could be maybe covered a lot more in depth, and we just don't maybe have the time to do it today. However, if one of these kind of piques your interest, make sure to contact one of your local personal assistants, either on the phone or on Zoom, or if you're allowed to go there in person, you can even have a one-on-one session, and he or she can explain this to you even more in depth in person, because believe me, we love talking about this stuff. Or I guess I should only speak for myself. I do, but many of our other personal assistants are able to help you out with this too. So if this is something that you have more questions about and we don't get to it today, make sure you follow up with your local staff. So having said that, I've got auto start stop selected. What that means is that I can go into any style. Yesterday I did Wonderful World, which I really like, so I'm going to do that one again. And whenever I touch one of my in this case, I put it on the natural pedals or the long pedals. I can just touch the pedal and it stops the style. Now, why would I want to do that? Well, because it creates this kind of cool, dramatic break that you can do right in the middle of the song without having to take your hands off the keyboard, right? Because as soon as you reach up and touch the stop button, then what do you have to do? You got to get your hand back in the position, right? Which is kind of tough to do in the middle of a song. If you put it on the pedals, you can stop the style with your feet. Okay, so check this out. I apologize. You know what you also have to do? I didn't double check. I kept stepping on my pedals here while I was talking to you, and I hit my pedals off button. Whoops. So if you have this is the button way over here on the left, if you can see where I'm pointing. If your pedal's off, or on some instruments it's called a pedal mute, if that's on, then your pedals won't do anything, which is what just happened to me. So when I went to go hit the pedal, it didn't actually stop the style. So let's try take two here. Okay, so you can create some dramatic pauses in your music. Just again, make sure you don't do what I did. Make sure the pedals off or the pedal mute button is not selected. Okay. Now the difference between another option that's very similar is there's one called auto start stop, which is what I just used. There's another one that's just called start stop. And for a while I kept getting those mixed up. But basically the difference is auto start stop. If I stop the style by touching that pedal in this case, as soon as I touch a chord, the style comes in again just as normal. That's auto start stop. So watch this. If I am playing the style, okay, now I'm going to hit the pedal and stop it. right? Then I can do my next notes or whatever. When I touch another chord, the whole band comes back in, okay? Now, the start-stop feature that doesn't have the auto in there, the difference is that you'll still have your easy play chords when you retouch the chord again, but the full band doesn't come back in unless you touch the pedal. So let me show you an example. So if you heard, I was able to play that one little section with just the easy play chords, and then when I wanted the style to come back in, I touched the pedal again, and the style started. Okay, so that's the difference. We had a question from Gene, says, where is auto start stop on the marquee? So let me, I'll try to zoom us in here a little bit more. Can't get, yep. How's that? Is that a little better maybe? Okay, so the answer, not only on the marquee, but on every big window instrument, it's identical. Okay? You touch this button here, which is feature, and it's going to be just to the right of your big window. Touch feature. You use your scroll buttons to get to page 9. On page 9, it'll say touch bar, foot switches, and pedals. And I like to put it in the pedals, so that's what touch pedals. Then you have an option. You can put something in pedals natural or pedals black. Okay, so if right now I have a cymbal roll on the black pedals. You hear that? Kind of a cool little cymbal roll there. But on my natural pedals, I start and stop the style. Okay, the difference is that if it's auto start stop, when you touch a chord after having stopped the style, the whole band starts again. If you don't want the full band to come in necessarily, you just want a little section with just the chords, then I would choose start stop. You just have to realize that when you want the style to go back in again, you have to touch the pedal again. Okay? Okay. So hopefully that answers, that was Cecilia. Barbara says, yes, you do have to turn on pedal controllers. So I think I mentioned that, maybe not though, but you have to turn on pedal controllers or else you're just going to have bass notes instead of pedals. Or sorry, instead of your controllers. Okay. We get any other questions there? Stan says it's great to use for some of the endings with a retard. Certainly can. I like to use it for the middle sections of songs sometimes. So like if I play Over the Rainbow, I might use it for the section where they're going, you know. But the good news is, just like almost all the stuff on our instruments, you're going to find spots where you want to use it in your arrangements, and that's there really isn't a right or a wrong, right? In our very first class, the conductor magic class, the reason that they call it conductor magic instead of like keyboard magic or something is because you are the conductor. I mean, you're like the conductor of this huge orchestra, and the more you know about what you have there and how to control it, the more of I should say the better of a conductor you are. And it has nothing to do with your playing. It has all to do with how well do you know how to push the buttons. Because you can be just a so-so player, but you're a really good button pusher, and you're just going to sound awesome. It's because you're a better conductor of your orchestra or of your instrument, if you want to think about it that way. Okay. Joe White said, do you need to do a reset to turn it off? No, you do not. You can just turn pedal controllers off, and then it'll go back to being bass pedals. Okay, if you want to keep it though, on the other hand, you might want to use your controller lock, or sorry, control lock feature. But if you do a reset, it will turn off as well. All right, does anybody else have any questions on that one? All right, if you do have questions and you're feeling shy, I will say again, make sure you follow up with your local staff, because they'll all know how to do this, and it's something that if you have a big window instrument, this is just scratching the surface on the stuff that you can do on that page. Feature page 9 is my favorite page of the whole big window. So I'll just kind of leave it at that. And then before we
Rich,
go, I
you
think
have a question,
we have
Rich?
a question from Rich.
Okay, yeah, I just want to make sure I'm unmuted. On the pedals, am I correct in understanding if you hit a natural pedal, you're going to stop the style, and if you hit a black pedal, that's going to be a different sound? Is that correct?
Well, when you do the controllers, it's not going to be a sound necessarily. It's usually going to be a function or a percussion type thing, but it could be a sound effect or something like that. Basically, just think of it as you have two options. The long pedals can be one thing, the short pedals or the black pedals can be another thing.
Okay,
And
if
that can
you
be
could,
one
you
of.
don't have to hit the you don't have to hit the C pedal. You know, if you any pedal will suffice, correct?
Yes, there is technically, if you're somebody who actually plays bass pedals, there is a way to split the pedal board so that you can play like a portion of
That's beyond my ability. I'm not even discussing that.
But yeah, basically think of it as there's a long pedal and a short pedal, or a
Okay.
natural pedal and a black pedal. You have one option for each one, and there's literally dozens and dozens and dozens of options of what you can put in each one.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sure.
All right.
All right. Oh, maybe one more question, Marcia.
Go ahead and
Mute.
click unmute.
Okay,
There you
I
go.
was just wondering, how many different things can you actually put on the pedals at the same time when you're playing?
If you don't count bass notes, there's just two. right?
Oh,
But
okay.
those two you can pick from, dozens and dozens and dozens of different things, sound effects and functions and all that.
Oh, I was just thinking about loading it up or something, you know?
I mean, you can use it for transpose. You can use it for, if you go to your feature page 9 and just start scrolling through, you can use it for transpose. You can use it to trigger your intros and endings. You can use it for fade out. You can do no chords. You can do vibrato trem. You can do sound effects. Sound effects alone has dozens of options. So,
Right. Okay, thank you.
yep, you're welcome.
Yeah, that feature can be a whole workshop in itself.
Yeah, it really can, and that's why I really wanted to encourage you all to follow up, because, like I said, this is just scratching the surface of what you can do on that page. This is maybe not even scratching the surface. This is like just a drop in a bucket of all the stuff that you can do, and I really love that page. So I'll probably come back to it in some of my future sessions on here, but in the meantime, I would highly, highly, highly recommend that you get in touch with your local staff and see if you can explore that feature. All right, so I think we're probably wrapping up on time for today. I didn't get to a couple of the others that I was going to, but that's okay, because I love answering the questions. But I will tell you that the next time I do a session on here, one of these variety classes that Robert has been calling them, I will come back to this sheet, and we'll do at least a few more, or maybe get through the rest of them next time.
Yeah, and speaking of that, I'll do some announcements here. And then Brian's going to close it out with a song for you guys. But just wanted to say thank you for everybody for continuing to come to these. Keep coming. If you have any issues getting on, anything like that, let us know. Just contact us some way. Pretty much most of the stores that were open are back open now. That if you're not sure, you can email Robert and ask him who is open, who's not, and for our phone numbers if you need them, everything like that. But keep coming to the classes, and keep supporting us. We appreciate you guys so much, and we'll keep supporting you as long as you keep coming. So keep coming, and if you got friends that might be interested in playing music, let them know about us too. We've got, like Robert says every time too, we've got really small, nice, easy to play instruments that they can utilize, as well as yourselves. If today, now is a great time. If you've ever dreamt of having a certain instrument, you know, there's no better time. We're making a lot of customers really happy. So find out if there's something that you've always been thinking, oh, I might be interested in that. Ask us. It's a great time right now. We've been making a lot of happy customers. So let us know. As far as what we got coming up, we have a bunch of fun shops coming up that are going to be taught on Zoom. So just like this, and they're based on different series of instruments. So you'll see EZ series, there's an SD series, A series, SU, which is like a Stardust Royale. And so Robert's sending out emails. Make sure you click on which one you want to go to, and it'll automatically sign you up for it. Also, I'm teaching one of them. We're going to have different educators teaching all of them. On Monday, the Easy Series one, that's going to be me. You're going to be stuck with me if you have an easy instrument. So that's on Monday. Otherwise, they're all going to be taught by different people, so it's going to be a lot of fun. You'll get some different perspectives. And lastly, tomorrow we have our next, what we usually do, a Facebook Live concert. We're either going to do that on Zoom again, because that seemed to work pretty well. Robert might do it on Facebook as well, so look out for an email for that. We're going to have a surprise artist, so that's at 11 a.m. tomorrow. So I'm going to continue here. Let's go back to Bryan. That's it, I think, for the announcements. So we're going to close you out with a song, but as always, thank you for coming, and keep coming, okay?
All right. Thank you, Sean. Real quick before I get into my final number of the day, we had one question. Is the Wednesday class the same as the Thursday class? And the answer is yes. The Wednesday class is exactly the same material. What's going to be different is what Sean had just mentioned with these kind of product-specific workshops that are going to be coming up. So be sure to stay in tune with your email. You're looking out for the stuff from Robert. But yeah, the Wednesday at 2 o'clock Florida time, and the Thursday 2 o'clock is the same material as of right now.
And Judy, did you have a question?
Yeah, how can we check to see if we can get last Monday's class for the upper level instruments? I guess the Aria and the Liberty and the, you know.
That's Robert's going to be sending out an email within the next, I think, couple days. He said he's going to send an email to everybody with anything, with all the materials that you might have missed, anything like that. So
fantastic.
If he has that, it'll be in the email. So keep checking.
Thank you very much, guys.
Plug here too. We can get in a quick plug for our Fletcher Music YouTube channel. So not all of, but many of the concerts, workshops, classes, everything that we're doing on Zoom, many of those are getting uploaded to our YouTube channel. And it's very easy to remember, okay? Sean can probably put it in the chat, but it's youtube.com/Fletcher Music Centers. Okay, and of course,
one word. Yep.
It's youtube.com/Fletcher Music Centers. Okay, so if you go there, you can hit the subscribe button, the big red button on the page there. And if you click that, you're going to get the updates on YouTube. Okay?
Yeah.
So I'd highly recommend that.
What's great about that too is you can even, get the whole family around, put it on the TV, and everybody can watch the class together. Or if you missed a class and you want to show somebody later on, you can get together and watch it on your TV, on YouTube. Plus, we'll be putting other videos on there as well, so you can see a bunch of different things on there. So.
Do we want to take one more question? We got Joanne Haley.
Yeah, one more question. Go ahead, Joanne. It should say unmute on your screen. Maybe.
Did you say there's a Zoom concert tomorrow?
It's either going to be on Zoom or Facebook. We haven't worked it out yet because we've been having some issues with Facebook or doing both at the same time. So we're kind of playing with the different options because basically the Zoom worked out pretty well the last couple times we've done it, but not everybody has that. But at the same time, not everybody has Facebook either. So we're trying to get the best of both worlds, whatever works best. So we're going to do some tests and figure out which one works the best. So look out in the email, and we'll definitely do something at 11 tomorrow for sure.
11?
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
All right, and we had one question from Al in the chat, said, if we want to watch on Wednesday, do we need to email to attend?
Yes.
I will check with Robert on that. I'm not sure off the top of my head.
Yeah, you do. You do need an email link. Like if you want to switch to the other class, so say you want to stick to one, okay? So if you're coming on Thursdays, keep coming on Thursdays. If you change your mind and Wednesdays are going to work better for you, we need to know that because we have to send a different link to you because the link that you're going to click on is different. So yes, let us know if you are changing your day, but keep trying to come to the same one. But that's it. Yeah, let us know.
All righty. So let me close out today. I'm going to end our session today with a big band tune using the style called Satin Lady, which you might know is for Duke Ellington's Satin Doll. So here we go. All right. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. I don't know if you have any closing remarks, Sean, but I did
If
see.
anybody has anything to say, you can unmute yourselves. Glenna has something to say. I think she raised her hand, so I'll let her go first. And yeah, go ahead, Glenna. Should say on your screen, unmute.
You gave
There.
a YouTube address, and I didn't quite get that written down. Could you repeat that, especially the last part? YouTube.com/Fletcher
Music Centers.
Centers. Okay, thank you very much.
FLETCHER Music Centers with an S. Centers.
Okay, thank you.
And in the emails that Robert sends, he puts a link to it as well, so you can always get to it from his emails. He puts it on the bottom.
Okay.
Isn't that right, Robert?
Yes,
Thank you.
All right.
it's the name of our company, Electro Music Centers.
And I did see a note from Gene that said something about hi from Western New York. So I was born in Kenmore, New York, right outside of Buffalo. So I know Western New York very well.
Thanks, guys. Enjoyed it.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Thank you very much, everybody, for attending today. And we'll see you again very soon.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good job, Brian.
Yeah, good job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Be happy and healthy.
Everybody be safe. Wear those masks.
Hold on.
What's that?
Can you hear me from Apollo Beach?
Thank you both.
Didn't quite get that.
Hello, can you hear me from Apollo Beach?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Hey, how come when I got the email, I put my information in for the easy. I have an easy 3.
Great.
Today's lesson has no. I don't even know what's going on. When will the easy 3 lessons on the computer start on Zoom?
We have one on Monday. On Monday at maybe Robert can help me with the time, but I believe it's at 10 a.m. Arizona time, and that would be 1 p.m. Florida time. So.
Okay, so
Let's
how
look
come
for that.
am I gonna get that on my email automatically?
Yep, you will.
Okay, and then one more thing before you go. You guys were great. When I was watching on Zoom on my computer a few minutes ago, I didn't see my face come up, but yet when I put on my iPhone, I see my face. Is there any reason why?
Your computer may not have a camera on it.
I have
We
a
have lot of
camera.
people with it.
I have a camera on my computer.
You'll have to just figure out some technical things with that because it just depends on the computer and camera.
Yeah.
But it
Okay.
should be able to, on the bottom left, it should say start video.
Yeah, I
If you
saw
have
that.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. it
All right.
does.
All right. Thanks a lot, guys. You did a great
You're
job.
welcome. Thank you. All right.
All right.
Well,
And
bye.
we'll cut the broadcast in 5, 4, 3, 2. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.